I'm here, Ronin Man, and
we got chime time.
We are fucking talking about something very, very good. It is on fire. So I just turned this on. I want to kind of capture wherever we're at. Where are we at right now with this conversation? It's been flaming here for about an hour.
I mean, we were just discussing like programs running in the background, messing up your train of thought. Right before that, we were touching down upon people who've thrown their entire careers away, and there's like a certain element of
it's self-sabotage. Yeah, we're talking about self-sabotage.
But it's not even intentional.
Yeah.
Like there's something like within that becomes problematic, and sometimes you're not aware of it. It's kind of like the blind spot, like the famous blind spot that we talk about in these videos all the time, except
no, this is like this is a fucking, we're talking the kernel of your software. The kernel, it's like in the kernel, there are certain programs, and you nailed it with that example. Yeah. There are programs, you could have a great idea for a business. You could have a great idea for your life. You could have a great idea for school, but it turns out to be shit. It doesn't work because there's a program, there's just a little glitch. There's a little thing, like no matter how good your plan is, no matter how hard you try, if you don't recognize and face that glitch that takes you down time and time again, it's just going to happen over and over in your life. I can tell you this from experience because we all have these. We have everybody, nobody's perfect here. Everybody's got glitches in their program. And these things are serious. Like, I don't know if they're like, I don't want to get into what exactly they are because I think you can't sometimes fix these. What I'm talking about today is recognizing that you're like 99% there. And then recognizing these things and trying to figure out where you got sabotaged in your life. And then once you get that like in a timeline, then you can start to figure out what that means, right? Because we can't do everything in one video, but like we were just talking about businesses, and I just told Chime a bunch of stories about like how I did this, and I got so close. I had an idea, like for a supplement company. I had everything ready. I had the whole thing. I had the plan. I knew which one I wanted to do. It turns out that it was like a really good choice. It was right in the beginning of the industry for this particular thing. And I had everything. I had the money. I had the time. I had searched in China. I had found the best price pretty much in the world for the raw ingredients. I had a very heart-centered, real business idea. I was going to give a great product for people. Like everybody else was like selling 3%. I was going to sell 100% because I had found the best. I had found the active ingredient I wanted at a very, very good price. And I wasn't going to do any bullshit. I was going to add anything to it. And I was just going to just pack them in and sell them, right? And the internet was just brand new. And so like online marketing was like brand new. And this was perfect for online marketing, right? It was just like making in China back then was a great idea. Like everybody got rich. Every factory, you could make any factory in China and those guys are all rich now. Like seriously, you could have like a bunch of, when I say factory, I mean like a fucking room with like ladies standing around at tables, like making surfboards, making dolls, they call it a factory, but actually it was more like a workshop or something, a lot of factories. And it's like, I knew what I need to do. I had the idea. Okay, so here I am, right? Entrepreneur, everything's ready in my mind. I've got the money even. I had tons of money in the bank. I wasn't hurting, but my self-esteem or something there was a glitch in my program where I somehow couldn't accept myself being successful maybe or something, or I couldn't see myself as enough to do this on my own. And so along comes this Australian guy, and he's like Mr. fucking slick. He's got his Mercedes, he's got his fucking money, he sold his company to a famous internet company, he's got tons of money. Now I found out later that he basically stole the idea and then stole the company and sold it to this big internet company. So I found out later this guy was a total bullshitter and basically a thief. But anyway, I came across this guy, and so he comes up to me. He's all like, fuck, he's like, mate, don't worry, mate. I will get you down, mate. We'll do this and we'll do SEO and this and that. We'll sell. And he just kind of like bowled me over, and I was like, logically, I knew I didn't need this guy. I knew I had everything I needed. Like I had the money, I had the idea, I had sourced the product, I had pill making machines, I had the marketing, I had like friends in retail, and like I had connections to retail that would be very easy to sell. And this guy had nothing. But all they had was like a bull over, I know better. I've got this experience, you don't. And he wasn't even older than me. He was a little bit younger than me, but he just kind of like bullied. I feel like, from my perspective, again, we're talking about glitches here. So I'm not describing maybe your experience would be with the guy, although it probably would be, but I'm just saying how it affected me. To me, it was like a bully. It was like he just came in and said, I'm going to partner with you. You got a great idea. And then he just like pushed his way into my life. And then once he got in there, like everything got fucked up because, before it was just me and I had an assistant. We were just like working on it all day, taking buses, going and looking at pill making machines, looking at products. And then all of a sudden it's like, we're going to the Ritz-Carlton having coffee. We're going eating these big fat guy sandwiches. We're just like eating different food and like this is expenses on the company. We're just doing all these things I don't want to do. And he's paying for it. But that money, he's not really paying for it. It's going to come out of the company. It's going to be expenses, right? Like, so not only does he come in with nothing, he bowls me over. And now we're spending money like crazy. And this happened on another business too, to me. Same exact thing. And like, it wasn't like an investor. He was like more like a leech or like a program that takes over the alien in a movie or something. He just like took over the whole thing. All of a sudden, everything has to be approved by him. He picks the logo. And I'm like, well, I don't really like that logo. He picked this logo was like really like gaudy and really like in your face kind of logo. And I'm not that, like, I wanted something smooth. I wanted something smart. I wanted something health, something green, and he like went more like the bodybuilding kind of thing, like it was just like, it wasn't really a body. It didn't make sense to me, and like, but I had the concept, and so the basic point is, I tell you that the details because I want to let you know where I was at. Like I just didn't have the confidence. There was this glitch in my program. I could not see myself. I can tell you this. I could not see myself as a guy who could just do a business on his own and succeed and not let anybody leech on him. I just couldn't do that. I had to I had this weakness where like, if somebody wanted to leech onto I just had to let him do it or something. Like I didn't have any defense against it. And that's happened a couple times in businesses when I had a good idea. Actually, 3 times it happened to me.
So it happened multiple times, right? So like what I'm seeing is like 2 things. Like one, there's the guy or these multiple guys, they slid in there and got their foot in the door.
Every time when I had a really good idea, every single time. It was not for a shitty, because I have a lot of shitty ideas.
Yeah.
No, these were like 3 really good ideas.
So like, what that tells me is that you didn't build like a resistance to that or like an ability to identify these characters in your life and avoid that. So like you didn't build the defense mechanism.
When you're talking, I just realized what it was. It's like this. It's like when a girl's really hot, right? There's going to be people trying to like take advantage of her, right? Like, I'm not saying like in other words, they want to do stuff that she doesn't want to do. And a rich guy, he's walking down the street. People look at him and say they want his money, right? He has money, but they want to have his money, right? When I have an idea, when I have a business idea, I'm like loaded. I'm like a guy walking down the street with a lot of money. And people see that. There's certain people, most people can't. Most people are not entrepreneurs, but there's other experience, kind of like sleazy, to me, very sleazy, kind of like scumbag, bloodsucker people who understand business. And they see a guy like me running down the street. And to me, I'm just walking down the street with money coming out of my pocket because I got this idea. And I'm just like, hey, you want to hear about this idea? I got this great idea. We can sell it there. We can do it there. Here's the thing. And they're like, this guy is naive. I'm going to fucking go into his business and I'm going to suck this guy dry. I'm going to fuck this guy over. And that's the truth. I just realized it when you were talking. You absolutely nailed it. What I need to do on this one, it's not a glitch inside myself so much. I was thinking it was more of a deeper problem.
No, it's 2 things. It's both.
Okay, maybe. But here's what I saw that I didn't see before. What I think is I didn't realize that I have value. So in the sense that I didn't see myself as that guy walking down the street with money. I always see myself as the struggling guy. I'm always coming from behind. I'm always like doing the hard way, representing myself, going around the world with no money. When I was a kid, growing up I always see myself as that. I never see myself as like, hey, I got the shit. I got to watch out for people trying to take advantage of me. And I never think of myself that way. But when I have a good idea in business, that's exactly what's going on. It's not like I am like that all the time. I'm like that when I have a good thing. When I have a good, that's it. You know what I mean? That is a valuable thing. And I couldn't see myself that way. That's what it is. I'm like walking down the street like some dumb guy with money in the hood. And I'm just like, hey guys, you can make money this. And they're like, yeah. Come over here, sir, just check this, come around this corner here, and they're just robbing me, right? So it's not actually like such a deep thing. It's just like, it's what it is actually. It's a confidence that when I have an idea, when I know something, I know something. And it's not like, I try to explain it to people and they don't sometimes understand it. I told people about Tesla in the very beginning, right? And that company's now worth a lot of money and looks like it's going to go up a lot more, right? I have so many things I figured out early. A lot of things, Bitcoin early, right? A lot of things I figured out early, but I couldn't convince everybody of it. And then I lose confidence in myself. That's another problem with me, is I'll see something early and I'll tell everybody, like I'll tell the guy sitting next to me and he won't understand Bitcoin. So he'll say, that's dumb, that'll never go up to, $10,000. Are you crazy? And then of course it does, right? He goes, I told everybody to buy Bitcoin at 197. I was like, buy Bitcoin now, just get 5 for $1,000. You can't lose, and then it went up. Now it's like, what is it? 15,000, right? It's like I see these things and I try to, there's two problems I can see right now. I just figured this out. One, when I have an idea, I feel like I have to convince everybody who happens to be around me of the idea being true. Otherwise I give up on it. That's one of my problems. So I have a bunch of idiots around me, like in this trailer park, right? You got a bunch of idiots and you say, hey, the internet's going to take over the post office. And they're like, hell no fucking way that's going to happen, right? And then I'm just like, I tell enough people and they're like, you're a dreamer, you're an idiot. That's never going to happen. Post office is going to run everything, and that's one thing. And then I give up on the idea. But the second thing is when I actually have an idea and I'm past that, I have that confidence. I'm walking down the street with this idea. It's like, I got to know. It's like, this is when I need protection. There's people who want to take advantage of that. They want to blood suck off that. And so that's I just figured it out.
Yeah, and that's kind of like our part of our conversation last night, even like about people who they have no business telling you what you don't know because you have the experience, you have the vision, and they don't.
Well, I don't always have the vision. That's what I'm saying. Like usually I have no vision, but sometimes I have vision. It's like a gift when you have vision on something, It's not like I walk around with vision. Hell no. It's just like once in a while I'll put the pieces together. I'll be like, I see it. My brain can somehow put things together sometimes. And I'm like, oh my God, I fucking see that. I see this is going this way. This is the new direction of things. My brain can kind of do that once in a while, but it's not all the time. So I want to say, like, when I have a bad idea, I'm not a dumb person. And when I have a good idea, I'm not a great person. Okay, I'm just this person I am all the time. And then sometimes I actually have a really good idea. And that's when I have the money falling out of my pocket. It's not I suddenly become a great guy. I don't suddenly become a genius. It's just like I got a great idea. That's it. It's that simple.
Yeah, so there's the part where like you have a good idea and you are like confident enough to pursue the idea, things are going right, some guy comes into your life, cuts in on it, you kind of get blindsided, or not like it's not even like a right away thing. It's just something that kind of like he's in there, next thing you know, fat guy sandwiches, company expenses, like so like the other part that we're talking about is like when you're in the midst of that and not being able to see that. So one, you didn't see the guy get the foot in the door. And then two, you don't like really right away detect that additional things are going wrong. Like this kind of second wave of things happening that are wrong. And what I was comparing it to earlier is like, back in Windows 98 or something, you could have MS Paint open, and for some reason there's like a glitch where it takes a process, and if you open up like a Control-Alt-Delete and you go to like Windows operations or something like that, And it's this one program, this small program that's like helpful, that you kind of need to do like one thing, is suddenly like taking up like 100% of the processing power of your entire PC. And then all the other programs kind of suffer because of it. So like when there's something bothering you, sometimes you don't even realize which program is the one that's hanging up all the processing power. And it could be that guy, like the fat guy sandwiches, like there's something about that situation that's bothering you and you don't realize which program it is,
maybe with those guys, I totally get what you, that's what started the whole discussion was that as soon as you said that, like one program using up all the energy, that's when we started to record. Cause I'm like, that's it. There's something there. But I actually realized on this one, what it is more like this. It's more like when you have, okay, let's say you're running the defense for the United States, right? And you're looking at all the risks, and all of a sudden there's one fucking thing that is like crazy risky, and you realize like something's going to happen, right? I think that's more like it's like a risk factor. Like you're looking at everything seems totally normal, oh, the defense is there, it's normal, the defense is, everything's working fine, and then all of a sudden you see a real anomaly, like, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, you're up at the highest level risk just because of this one thing, because you realize like we're going to get nuked or something, right? Like all of a sudden, everything changes when that missile starts launching, towards the U.S., right? So it's like, I think that's what we're talking about is there's many ways to look at it, right? There's one is an internal glitch where you're stopping yourself. And that was me not knowing that I had something to offer when I have an idea. Right, and but the second thing is the lack of understanding of what is it called, like not priorities, but perspective of risk. So understanding, okay, everything's normal, but that one thing changes everything. And these guys trying to glitch onto my company, these are serious risks for me, because I tend to talk to people. Like one time I had a great idea. I had a great idea in Japan. And it was a huge, complicated project, like huge. It was manufacturing, it was retail, it was marketing, it was everything. And so I felt not confident enough to do it by myself. After about a year of working on it, I lost like $250,000 on this thing, right? So then I started telling Japanese companies about it, figuring I could partner with them to do the sales or whatever. Well, they stole the idea, right? A big Japanese company stole my idea that I presented it to them, right? And it was very successful. It was actually my mom's idea. My mom told me, and I'm like, that's a great idea, Mom. I'm going to do that. My mom's like really smart, actually. She's very creative, actually. And like, she comes up with ideas. Me and my mom actually brainstorm very well on ideas. And like, just super creative. That's where I got my kind of thinking, was from my mom, right? So we were coming up with these ideas together. And then I was like, yeah, I'll do it, So I went to do it. And then it was like, really complicated, really hard. Then I told the Japanese company about it. I told a bunch, and then there was one guy, and then he stole the idea, right? So now I lost my train of thought.
No, like detection, detecting like a threat.
Right, right.
Or like, you sailed into dangerous waters without noting that what you were doing.
Right. I didn't realize in Japan is a very tough market, actually, in the sense that big companies rule Japan. Like, they really rule Japan. Like, small companies are a joke in Japan.
Yeah, it's called like Keiretsu or something.
Well, there's the Keiretsu, and there's the Zaibatsu in the old days.
Oh yeah.
But there's all these things. But those type of companies, they still totally control everything from politics to everything else. So small companies are kind of a joke in Japan in a way. Like, and so you're like Toyota is called Toyota Bank for a reason in Japanese, because basically they have so much money and they just crush. They crush their suppliers for lower and lower costs, for higher and higher quality. They crush other competitors. They're brutal. They are brutal. Like in the old days, we used to hate Bill Gates, Microsoft, and like, believe me, in Japan, a lot of people hate Toyota.
It's like the shogunate.
Yeah. Toyota is a very tough company. I'll tell you that. And we think of them as like all nice and everything. I'll tell you, the image in Japan is not actually the same. Not at all. Japan, they know Toyota. And there's another company, I won't say the name, but I don't want to get onto a thing about that. But basically, where were we going with that? What was I?
Oh, well, I mean, okay, so we got these scenarios like...
I was going to say. So what it was is, what I realized different about that was, okay, so we got three things we're talking about. One of them is trying to convince a bunch of idiots around me of an idea and then giving up too early. But then once the idea gets past that, now I'm confident. Now the idea is budded. I've got on my own. I figured it out. I strategized the whole thing. And then I get leached on by another single individual. The third stage is where I got past that stage. And now I'm fucking rocking. I've manufactured the product in China. I've got everything ready. All I need is like some marketing, and then a big Japanese company fucked me over. So it went from a bunch of guys in the trailer park not listening to me and me giving up to like some sleazy individual Better Call Saul type of guy, right? And then it goes to a big company. So when I think about it logically, I'm actually getting better because I'm getting fucked over by bigger and bigger people.
Yeah, like, okay, so the way I look at it is like you're like everyone starts out as a small fish, right? And you're in shallow waters, and then you brave enough, you have like an idea enough to go into other waters to do bigger and badder things. But then there's a scenario where you're sailing into dangerous waters, and like that's part of life. Everyone's got to go through dangerous waters if you want to get anywhere.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing, man. This is the thing.
So we're talking about navigating your out of the shallow into dangerous waters, and then how to handle being in dangerous waters so you can get past it.
In different levels of your basically career, idea, whatever you're at, there's different risks at low level, in the mid level, and the high level, and then there's probably higher and higher and higher and higher. There's different things you're going to confront that you've never confronted before. So that's part of what I'm trying to do for you is get your mind ready for the next challenge, because there will be something that's going to just hit you, that glitch or that risk factor. It's going to just hit you.
And when we say that, have your mind ready, your mind is what goes with you in all those waters. You have that the whole time. So you have to know how your mind is going to react every time you go in one of those, scenarios. So you have to be cognizant of what your programs are, or why they're hanging up, which program's hanging up, because why your other and notice why your other programs aren't running at capacity. You got to realize why does my head hurt? Why can't I concentrate on all this different stuff? Where is that area that I got to fix?
Let's say that's too hard for you. That's pretty hard. That's pretty high level stuff. Let's just say the basics would be this. When you start getting frustrated with something, you're writing a book, you're trying to do something, and you you need, if you can conceive that you're in the sense that you're bumping up against one of these things we're talking about here, is like this, you're bumping against some new challenge, right? This is when, once you can conceive of what is actually happening. See, one of the problems is when you confront stuff that you don't even understand what's going on. That's what happened with me. I had no conception. It was like just a bunch of pain every time I got fucked over. I could not see what was coming. I couldn't see it coming. It was like a train that came and ran me over, and I didn't even know after it ran me over what happened.
Yeah, you didn't realize you're maybe even on the tracks.
No, I had no concept of the whole thing. It was just a big ball of confusion, right? So what I'm hoping is that you can hear this, and you can say, okay, I can see now what's happening to me. See, once you can see what's happening, the train is coming, right? Or the train ran me over. That's fine too. I couldn't even see that. But once you can see that, then you can talk to people about it. That's the big thing right there. Because once you can verbalize it, then you can start to say, okay, I've been there before. Oh, I see what you're saying. I get it. And then other guys will be able to talk to you and say, well, who is this guy? What's so special about this guy? Is he really adding any value? And then I could say, well, how do you get rid of him? And then somebody would say, you need to talk to this guy. And then he would say, look, how far are you in legally with this guy? What have you done? Have you signed anything? Have you done this? Okay, look, let me pass you over to somebody who can get you, basically what I would tell myself if I could go back. I'd say, look, you didn't sign shit. This is your idea. You just go figure out what you need to do to separate from this guy and continue with your idea. You've got the idea. There's a proof of it. There's a history. You've been working on this thing for a year. This guy comes along, gloms on, and basically pulls you down like the crab in the bucket. You got to figure out how to get rid of that crab in the bucket, or if it's worth it, right? And there's somebody who would know about that. So once you can verbalize it, then you can start to fix it, or you can at least know your options. Like, okay, getting this guy out is going to be really hard because blah, 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 or it's going to be easy. Here's what you need to do. You need to mentally do this, emotionally separate, and then you need to tell him this, have him sign this, or you do this, you tell him that. Basically there's a procedure for doing something, right? And it's a matter of, once you can verbalize it, then you can start to do the internal stuff and the external stuff you need to do. Or you can make a decision not to do it because you went too far. Let's say legally I bound with him too much, which I don't think I did, but let's just say I did. Then I wouldn't be able to separate him, but at least I would be able to know why. Instead, I just walked away. I just walked away from the whole business. I never did it because it was so frustrating for me. Because I was like, I had this great idea, and then all of a sudden it's just ruined. And he told me, he goes, if you do this, what we did together, I'm going to sue you to, and it scared the shit out of me because I'd never been sued, right? So I walked away. I just said, okay, I'm not going to do the business. I said to myself, I got tons of ideas. I got tons of talent. Fuck him. I'm just not going to do the whole thing. And he was frustrated because he wanted me to do it and then sue me and get a bunch of money because he knew it was going to be successful. But instead I didn't do it. But I realized that was part of my past as a child when I would just give up on things and just like not do them. No, sometimes it's worth a fight. You need to fight. And like one of the things, like one of my weaknesses is really being too nice and not being able to fight. Physically I can defend myself, right? But like, it's like, when someone is attacking you in business or whatever, you need to be able to defend yourself. And sometimes the way I defend myself is by cooperating, working it out. I am good at that. I'm very good at that. That's why I've never had any legal problems, is because I've been able to cooperate with people. But that doesn't work all the time. Some people will not do that. They see you as a cooperative person and they only see weakness. They're like, that person's too nice, I'm going to fuck them over, right? And that's their attitude. They're like, oh, this is a piece of cake, this guy, right? And everybody else, like normal people, will tend to cooperate, right? They'll see that you're reasonable, even in the most difficult times. And we even experienced this, me and you. Like, we saw each other at different points, right? And we realized, like, we were able to get past that, right? And that's like a beautiful thing. Like, that's really beautiful thing. Seriously. That is so amazing, so rare. But the thing is like not everybody's like that. Some people, if you're nice, if you're cooperative, they're like, I'm going to get this guy, and that's when you need to be able to defend yourself. And that's what I didn't have. That's what I've never had. I've always just walked away, in my life whenever things got to that point. And this is my glitch because all I could see is the least amount of pain is just to walk away, because I have confidence in myself in the sense that I know I'm always going to be successful again, whether it's whatever it is, if it's a relationship, if it's a new country, if it's a new language, if it's a new this, a new that, no matter what it is, no friends, no money, no food, I'm going to figure it out every single time. And I know that. I'm very confident in that. So I'm always like, hey, I can go. I don't need anything. I can walk out here with shorts on in the middle of the winter and I'm going to survive with no money, no wallet. I'm going to figure it out, period. And I know myself. I will do that every single time. But see, that's not always the solution. All I can see is one. It's like you got A or B at least, right? In a tree, of a decision tree, right? I've always only seen A. I've never seen that you can, like sometimes, like, is this happening? Yes, no. Is this happening? Yes, no, right? It's like, is this person unable to compromise? Is this person seeing you as weak and trying to take advantage of you? Does this person have no intention of giving anything good or taking any positive step, and only to take advantage of you? If this is the case, if A, B, C, D, E, F, G, F, H to Z are all this type of person, I need to fight. I need to legally fight, whatever it is. I need to defend myself in this scenario, whether it's in business, whether it's in a relationship, or whatever it is. Legally, and that is what I could never see before. That option. I mean, I don't like the option. Don't get me wrong. I still am who I am. I like to cooperate. I really prefer to work things out. Always. I can't even understand why people wouldn't want to do that. Like my brain is like, why would you waste all this time and money, like fighting for nothing? Let's just work it out the best we can and then be done with it. Like that's, and then we'll just move on to the other stuff. Have a good day. It's like, but some people won't, and so that's been my. I don't know if it's a glitch. It might even be just like, what is that called when you. What was that battleship? I sunk your battleship. You're just clicking around, and then all of a sudden you hit the battleship. I think this has been my battleship. I just go down on this one.
Well, I think it's natural to want to be peaceful, and I think it's natural to also want to be aggressive. I think there are aggressive people and there are peaceful people, and both are natural. It's just there's these interactions that make complications.
Right. Some people are just more on that side, and they can't see my way, or they can't see any other way, and they just see that way. I guess that makes sense. I tend to think of them. To me, they're such a different species than me. It's hard for me to even understand. So when you say that, I just think of them as not nice people, because I'm like, why would you not be able to work things out? Like, I don't understand. Like, I just don't get it. Like I don't understand. Like, why do two dogs just sit there and fight for nothing? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the animal kingdom. It just has to be this way.
There's no winning there. You know what I mean? There's no nobody's winning. Both dogs are going to have a bunch of bites. There's no food to win. There's no money to win. Like, I don't see any benefit in it.
So, but like the thing is, it's not really like it is the way that it is. There's just consequences for. Like either way, like whether you play into the game or not, there's like consequences. And in your case, like the consequences of you having been in these scenarios and then just walking away each time. I think we were up to 3 times from what you said in this conversation.
Yeah.
And then like earlier on before we started recording, I had mentioned Bernie Sanders and how like he spent his entire career and life. I mean, I think the guy is almost in his 80s, and he has been, working in politics for like, let's say over 50 years. And it's almost like he threw his entire career away being the nice guy the whole time. If only he just told people, to shut up.
Yeah,
like if only he stood up for himself, like he might be president today, or something like that.
Right. He's not, by the way, Time's not saying that he likes Bernie Sanders. What he's saying is Bernie Sanders had it we're just talking about politics right now, like his political strategy,
or his skill. Like he's very, very talented, but his talent never got a chance to come out because he never, got like aggressive.
He had the vote. He had everybody on his side, and all he had to do was say basically go on the attack against Hillary and just say like, what you uncover. Basically, he would have had to uncover the mechanism behind his party and call people out and just start taking it to the fucking mat. That's what he had to do with his own party and say, look, I don't care if I'm going to lose in the big election. I won this nomination and I am the nominee. And any of these guys who were trying to sabotage me, they're wrong. Like, I won this thing, and that's all he had to do. And then he would have been nominated. Now, whether he would have been president, that's another issue. But you're right. Like, all he had to do was just like, it was ridiculous he didn't get the nomination, actually. Even though I don't like the guy. You know what I mean? I by the way, I do see that he's a very good debater. I see different skills he has. That guy can think on his feet, and I respect that. But like, I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a fan of his socialism. I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, this is just an example, like of somebody like I bet I'm not aware of.
No, but
him.
I think it's a good example because sometimes the examples don't always use examples that are like supporting your basic strategy. No, we're just using like, this is an example that fits perfectly with our story. There's no hidden message. There's no hidden political message there. It's just like, that's a great example because Bernie Sanders should have been nominated, period.
And he was doing this, he was in his career, this, what do you call it, this field of work for like decades. And I'm not aware of his previous past, but I bet you that he never stood up for himself in the past. Like all those decades, and this is probably a mistake that he'd been making for many, many years. I bet.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah,
that this was not the first time because he just slinked away. He didn't call anybody out. He didn't, I was watching him and I was thinking like, why doesn't he call her out? Like, why did he kind of like afterwards started supporting all these things that we know he doesn't support, right? You know, I don't remember what it was, but it was like all these things he was clearly against. Like that guy, one thing about Bernie Sanders is he has a clear like strategy. His plan, his thinking is one way. You can almost like to the dime, you can just say, okay, Bernie's going to think this about this, right? And then all of a sudden when he loses the nomination, well, he didn't lose, but when he gets bullied out of the nomination, then all of a sudden he starts supporting things that everybody knows. Like it didn't even work because it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like the person who's in the most shape in the world, the best shape, you know, bodybuilder, and they're saying, you should eat Twinkies for breakfast because they're great, you know, they're great for your body. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like
that's not what you were saying a few months ago. But anyway, like not that, I mean, that could be a side effect of just not standing up for yourself. But the key message here is just stand up for yourself. Yeah. Because like, you know, don't make the same decision that's a mistake over and over again. Don't make bad things a habit. You know, identify a problem. Don't repeat that mistake in another scenario. Like, you know, like next time you're in an opportunity, don't let yourself be self-sabotaged, you know, by one of your programs or hang-ups, like things that you want to be a certain way. It really tough decisions.
I would say is in real life, if you're an entrepreneur, you know, when I talk about failure as an entrepreneur, I'm not saying I'm a failure as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I've been very successful many times. An entrepreneur, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So this is the conversation that everybody has to have in their own mind, including the most successful entrepreneurs, because there's many things you're failing at all the time, and it's like you're constantly improving yourself. So that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is you have to have this challenge inside your own mind. You're saying like you have to see in advance and stop them. What I'm saying is like, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to fuck up. You're going to like make tons of mistakes.
Oh yeah. So you're going to make a mistake, but don't spend your entire life making the same mistakes. Like the consequences of you not learning from your past is going to, you're in danger of repeating the same mistakes.
At least right now, listening to this, start to say, you know what? I can fix this. I see other people's challenges. Other people have challenges. I have challenges. That's okay. You know, because that's one of the things with entrepreneurs. It's very difficult to admit you're wrong or to admit that you have this like serious weakness, because it's just not the way you think. You know, you're just like, it is difficult actually sometimes to like face these things. So start to face them is what I would say. Take baby steps. Don't expect yourself to suddenly figure everything out. Just say, okay, I'm going to start to see my life for what it is. That's it. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to become perfect. I'm not going to overcome all these things in real time. I'm not going to have any new challenges that I'm going to suddenly, I'll know in advance what they are and I'm going to do the right thing. It's just no. It's a slog. It's a slog. Life is a slog. It's a hard slog, right? So you say, okay, I'm going to start to see myself and my situations for what they are. And I think the best way is to start with your past. Just like I did today. Start with your past. Where in your life, whether it's in relationships or business or whatever it was, like you had a dream, you had something you wanted to do. And then where did you do what? You know, where was your glitch? Where was your maybe warning of security violation that you didn't pay attention to? Your beeping alarm that you just didn't know. You just didn't want to see it. You didn't notice it. You know, and then if you can start to see that about your own life, then you can start to like accept that it's going to happen again, because it is going to happen again. Even after this episode, I will have a challenge. I'll be totally blindsided. I'll feel the same way, but then quickly I'll say, wait a second. I've learned. I've faced myself. It's all about the courage that you have to face yourself is going to be the thing that's going to carry you through the next one. See, if I run from the things that I've done, how the hell am I going to face the things that come in the future? No. If you face them now, you will at least, it will give you a confidence. You'll be like, okay, I've been here before. I've seen this. Okay, don't get too worried, you know. Okay, now what's going on here? You'll have a sense of calmness about yourself.
Yeah, so like
That's pretty much all I got to say.
Yeah, like, and I'm just going to reiterate because
Yeah.
that's kind of like my role here. For like older viewers, listeners, like look back on your many opportunities and see if there's, especially if there's failures or even successes, really look back at all of them and see what the patterns are, the keys to like what made it a success, what made it a failure, like did something happen every single time?
Where did you get like blindsided by something? That's the thing. It's not like we're not talking about some normal thing where you just make a little mistake, A or B. This is like where you're going one way and then it's just like a torpedo just hits you and just throws you off.
Yeah. If there's multiple failures, there's bound to be a pattern, and look for the thing that every single instance had in common. That's going to really help you. And then for our like viewers, listeners who had like just one experience, I guess, so far, you can't really detect patterns. Memorize, remember, take notes of your experience and then compare it to the next time. Keep going, keep striving, and be aware like of when you start to meet any kind of resistance, look back immediately.
Yeah, like you're trying to do something. You want to be the debating champion. Let's say you're in college and you want to win this. You want to get to be first string on this team or whatever. And then you're just like going that way and then just something takes you out. What was that thing? What happened? Who did it? What did you do to yourself? Like break it down. What was that thing? Because that's going to hit you again. That's the thing. It's you. That's the only thing it has in common with everything is yourself, right? So you can look at yourself and when were you like a freight train for something and then it all fell apart. And I'll tell you something, it ain't easy to find out what that thing is because your brain's going to tell you, oh, they were against me. Oh, I realized I was not into it. Your brain's going to lie to you sometimes. So that's one of the little challenges you have to face is that, maybe if you're having trouble getting to the real reason, maybe bring in a friend and say, what do you think it was? And then he'll be like, well, I think you just wimped out or something. You'll be like, no, don't say that. No. But then you think about it. You're like, fuck, he was right. No, or whatever, maybe you can bring in a second person who can help you to be honest on that particular thing, whatever that was. Now, if you find out that you wimped out, for example, and then you're super embarrassed about that, you can dig into that and find out when was the first time when you were a little kid, when you remember wimping out, what was the reason? And the reason why I say that is because all of us here are intelligent and you do things for a reason. So if you wimp out on something now, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Look back in your life. I guarantee you, I'll tell you right now, I've talked to a lot of guys and I have searched myself deeply. Look back for the very first time. You probably wimped out for a very good reason. Either somebody was overwhelmingly strong and you had no hope, right? And the best strategy actually was to wimp out in that case or to run away. But then that became a pattern. So you had this one thing that was real. You did the smartest thing at the time as a 3-year-old, as a 5-year-old, as a 10-year-old. But then now your mind, the glitch in the program is that you think that's the solution now. But actually, what people are so embarrassed of is they're embarrassed of their current actions. But if you look back yourself, you'll actually have a lot of sympathy because you'll say, wait a second, that time I remember, and it always will stick out in your mind. That first time you did that thing, you'll be like, oh my gosh, looking at it logically, that was the only thing I could do at that time. The problem was that became a pattern. And so don't be embarrassed of what you find is what I'm saying. The way you get strong is by not being embarrassed and then trusting in yourself and saying, okay, where did this start? So that's a way deep level that we're not even talking about here. But this is why I say, don't be afraid of what you find, because at first it's going to seem embarrassing. But when you logically, when you really break it down, right? If you want to work with me on this, please, like this is what Unblackmailable is for. But if you can't get to that, let me know. But you want to find out, why do you do the things you do? And that's where it goes down to the very bottom. And then once you figure that out, you're going to I guarantee you, you're going to breathe a huge sigh of relief because you're going to say, whew, all this fear, all this embarrassment, shame over something that I actually look back and what the hell was I going to do as a little kid? Like, what other choice did I have? I didn't have any defense. I didn't have any money. I had no house to go to. I was 3. Like, what the fuck was I going to do, right? You know what I mean? And then you can say, oh, that's where the pattern started, right? And then you say, okay, I get it. I can break this pattern. This pattern isn't me. This is a pattern that started from an emotional, deep experience. Okay, so once you get through that, or if you don't have that, you're back at the entrepreneur phase, and then you just like basic and say, okay, here's what happened. Here was the risk at that moment, and next time I'm gonna do this. Next time I'm gonna talk about it, call it out. Boom, boom, boom. That's it.
And you know what, that's really good, because that's also the advice that we would give our like youngest and less experienced viewers, listeners. Like, if you haven't had these experiences trying for something, or even going into deciding to go into dangerous waters outside of wherever your start is, like, the key is understanding yourself. And another thing that I said prior to this conversation was that you use your mind for every decision and step and moment of your entire life. So building the mind, and the mind goes with you wherever you go. Like, there's no sense in not building yourself up even before you have even tried something, or even after. You know, and this is like advice to not just for our inexperienced followers, but our even most advanced. Keep building your mind. You know, like, it's only going to help work smoother, faster, stronger in every situation you're in.
Right. True. I will just say this. The word follower, I don't believe in that.
Oh, yeah?
No, I'm speaking to you, one guy. You sitting there at the computer, you at the phone. Just to you. Like, think about it for yourself. You are a valuable person, you know? And you're here because you want to change. You're still listening on this because you're like, God, this is awesome. You know? You're not you are a fucking important guy. Work on yourself. This is a message. This is a message of hope. And if you are like you were saying, like, if let's say you're young and inexperienced with something, then think of this episode as an autobiography, just like you would read Henry Ford, Benjamin Franklin, and you learn from them, right? You learn from how Thomas Edison. You learn from these people who did things, right? Whoever it is that you admire in history, you know, you look at how they discovered something, Madame Curie, whatever, some scientific discovery, how they got to that point, right? You're watching how they got to that point so that you can now say, okay, this is how I can get to that point, right? And so by listening to other people's like challenges in entrepreneurship or in relationships, in whatever, in life, right? In growing up, in becoming more, in becoming bigger, you watch these challenges, these things that you use to sabotage yourself, these programs, these priorities and risks that you can't see, all these things, you see these things. This will give you the blueprint or the understanding. You'll start to see it's almost like, imagine looking down on the ground, there's like a map of your life down there, and it's really blurry. But the map will start to get clearer. Like the fog will start to clear, and you'll say, oh, I can make out where I was. Oh, I can make out where I'm going. Oh, if I do this, I can go that direction. You know, and so the map will start to become clear as by doing this, as either wherever you are, you know, start to get that clarity on your life, that clarity on your own map, your own Google map. All right, guys, that's it.
All right, this is Chime Time. Peace.
All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. This is a fucking good one. We're saying goodbye from Brooklyn.
We're in the Chime Time suite.
Oh yeah, Chime Time suite. He's been nice enough to put me up. It's been fucking awesome, and it's just been. I tell you something. Being in New York is such an awesome city. I think it's just like I think it's the only true American city. Like, New York is a great city. It's a world-class city. There's so much here. There's so much energy. There's so much of what a city is, like Tokyo. Yeah. You know, this is a real city. It's an awesome place. Like, I understand, like, if you're not like a city person, you might get to a big city and not really understand what's going on. I say this, if you ever go to a big city, if you're not from a big city, feel the energy. There's an energy of a city. You know, I was last night, one of my friends from China, he invited me out. We went out. We had a great time. Gabe came out. We just had a fucking great time. We were talking about manufacturing. We're talking about manufacturing LCD screens and semiconductors. His family does. And we were just like getting into all these like really interesting stuff about China and manufacturing, and it was just fucking great. And like, he's like a really smart guy, right? From a very good family. And like all the ideas, like this is where you meet, like in these big cities, you tend to meet, you got a plethora of intelligent, interesting people with different backgrounds, right? You know, and I like that about big cities. There's a lot of value in the people here, and I really gain a lot. I'm not saying I don't really love being in the countryside too, like being with like in the middle of nowhere with Drink and Dave, just like talking and thinking and hiking. This is awesome. So I'm not making any kind of comparison between cities and the other place. You know, you get different vitamins. You need different vitamins, right? You need vitamin A, you need vitamin C, you need vitamin D. It's not like, vitamin D, man, you just get a lot of vitamin D, you're going to be fine. It's like, no, man, you need a lot of vitamins, right? And one of the vitamins is being in a big city, being around intelligent people. Because I can tell you from my own relatives, I look at the relatives that were not in big cities, they lived in the middle of nowhere, they never really made much of themselves. I'm sure somebody can do that, have the discipline, but it's easier in a big city because the competition's harder. I like competition. Throw me in the competition. Because I know, it's not like I'm saying, oh, I win competition. No, competition destroys me a lot. But see, that's what I need in order to improve. I need to be destroyed. If I'm in a small town and there's like, let's say there's just a few girls, let's say we're talking about girls, and it's easy to pick them up, you know, that's like a big fish in a small bowl. Don't be a big fish in a small bowl.
Yes, go into those dangerous waters.
Yeah, be a fucking small fish in a fucking shark-filled ocean. You know, be willing, be brave and say, fuck it. I'm going to go in there. It's not that you're saying like, hey, I'm going to beat all these guys. It's like, no, man, I'm a man and I'm going to go into this thing and I'm going to do the best I can. And I can fucking do it. And I can fucking compete in this environment. I know in myself, I'm going to compete or I'm not going to make it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to put myself in that fucking, that exercise. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Really, it fucking makes my day. The comments, 谢谢。